Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing episode that we're going to have here today. I am so incredibly excited to have a new friend of mine, Denise Kennedy, on the show today because we're going to be talking about DNA testing. And this is something that I'm actually really passionate about. But first, to tell you guys a little bit who Denise is, she's a nutritionist, a health coach, passionate about helping others achieve optimal health and a vibrant life, and the founder of Total Wellness Academy. So, Denise, welcome to the show. Tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, what brings you here, and let's dive in.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Lizzie. It's been really an honor to be here. As I said, I've watched several of your podcasts, and you offer such amazing advice and information for everybody. So thank you. I am a holistic nutritionist, and I've been doing this for about 30 years. It's become really just a way of life, and I really love educating, which is why I started Total Wellness Academy, because I'm an educator at heart. And I definitely have brought in tools into my practice. One of those is DNA testing, which I feel is such an eye-opening. It's just like a little peek into the way God has made us. And I really feel like it's such a great tool for people to be able to see what's going on. So I have a lot of clients go, oh, that's why I'm experiencing this. So that's really fun when we have more information.
Yeah, I love that because I have not done that type of DNA testing, haven't gone into that. I'm aware of it. I've seen it and I've seen experts talk about it. And I know our DNA and our genetic makeup largely impacts what works and what doesn't work with the things that we put into our bodies, the vitamins we take, why some people can take certain vitamins and even medications and react the way that they do and other people don't. I know that's a big thing. So I can't wait to dive into that. But tell us a little bit more about Total Wellness Academy. I'm very curious, sort of like what your approach is with that. Is this an in-person clinic or is this online?
I actually do both. I have an online course, and it's kind of a wellness 101 for people. It's a 5-week program to go through and really see what is the bottom line of health. I truly, truly believe we've made it, or the entities that be out there have made it so difficult to understand, when to me, it really comes down to food, proper food, whole foods, and good supplementation
Mm-hmm.
and exercise, and then the right mindset and the right heart set. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm very holistic in my approach when I have clients. My intake forms and my assessments really guide me to, do we have more of an emotional issue or do we have a food issue?
Yeah. Yeah. They're all connected. They really are.
Because I was the one that only was putting one thing in place, and that was the food, and I couldn't understand why I had to start a diet twice a year or 4 times a year. And when I really put into practice, then I went through some courses and coaching and went into more mindset work. Things just started coming together where I could actually, yeah, this is a lifestyle and it's a decision.
Yeah, it is a decision. So that's something that I always teach my clients too is you have to decide that you want something different. But what happens after that decision matters even more because, you know, anybody can say, "Hey, I've decided that I want something different." Or that I want, for example, like anybody could be like, "Oh, I've decided that I want to make a lot of money." Or I've decided that I want to be healthy. But it's what you do after that decision that really, really matters, which is the execution part of it and having the right plan to follow through with it. That really is massively what makes people successful. And I'm sure you see this, but I see this a lot where it's the people that commit, they've decided, but then they commit and they execute, they are the most successful. There is no in and out. They're just like, "Nope, I'm doing this."
That boy, when we find a client like that, it's much easier because we're both committed to
Yeah.
getting them well. And I love one of the things that you teach is order, structure, discipline.
Yep. You got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's amazing. If the listeners can get that, I mean, that's amazing. It's pretty simple. So that's why I try to keep my things pretty simple in the approach. And then so I have my like remote or online wellness, and then I have a little wellness center
Okay.
here, yeah,
Hmm.
in South Carolina. So I offer different modalities and different things, different when I have somebody with me. So when
Yeah, like
there's
you can offer some in-person modality things if you have a clinic like that. So tell us, what is DNA testing? You can hear DNA testing and you may be like, oh, like they're talking about my genetic makeup or DNA or whatever it may be. But I want to hear from you, and I want you to tell the listeners here, what exactly is that and what does it give us that we can't get any other way?
So just to put it simply, we have a whole genetic makeup. There's genes throughout the body. There's probably somewhere between 20 and 25,000 genes. So we've got a massive amount of genes. And my test focuses on 92 genes and 112 SNPs. Those are nutrition and lifestyle based. So
Okay.
we're not going through all of the genes. I mean, there'd just be no way to do that. I'm very focused on the nutrition and lifestyle. But the important thing to know is this is a one-time thing. Your genes never change. You can take this when you're 6 months old, and you can take this when you're 95. The gene never changes.
Okay.
What we can change is the gene expression.
Okay.
So,
Because I've
so
heard that
that
before.
Yes. So that is where the magic can happen, because you may have a high propensity for Alzheimer's, but that does not have to express itself if we do the right things.
Mhm.
Just the opposite, when some people do not have the gene makeup or the propensity for Alzheimer's and they develop it anyway because they're eating processed foods and they're smoking and all they do is worry and watch the news all day long. Those kind of things all feed into our health, our whole body health.
All right, friends, let's talk about something that's a little uncomfortable but super important. Parasites. Yup, those unwanted guests in our bodies that can mess with our energy, digestion, and throw off our internal system. Now, most of us don't think about doing a parasite cleanse, but the truth is, these pesky little things are more common than we'd like to think, and they can lead to all kinds of symptoms that many people just live with, thinking they're normal. Now, it's not a matter of not having parasites at all. Rather, it's about how many do you have and what havoc are they creating internally. That's why I'm excited to share the Rot Your Hood Super Purify Kit with you. It's a comprehensive, all-natural kit that helps rid your body of parasites gently and effectively. I like to say this is white pant approved. It's easy to use, and it's a great way to reset and support your health from the inside out. Because let's be real, detoxing isn't just a trend. It's a way to help our bodies function better. The reason I love the Super Purify Kit for myself and my clients so much is it doesn't just touch on parasites. This kit includes a heavy metal flush, a candida detox, a binder which is very much needed, and a red artist tincture designed to support your gut and your organs as you are detoxing. So if you've been feeling sluggish, bloated, or just not quite like yourself, it might be time to give parasite detoxing a try. Grab the Rot Your Hood Super Purify Kit and start taking charge of your health, and see what a difference it makes when you clear out what shouldn't be there in the first place. Go to www.rogershood.com/REF/8. This link will automatically apply a 10% off discount code for you. If that doesn't work, you can also apply Lizzie 10. Again, that is www.rogershood.com/REF/8. You can also find this link in the show notes. Wow. So let's say you did a DNA test on someone and they had the gene that, is something that could turn into Alzheimer's. What's the protocol after that?
The really wonderful, the exciting thing about this particular test, I can't speak for all the rest of them.
Mhm.
I absolutely love, it's actually out of Australia,
Okay.
and they have chosen every gene that has actually been proven that we can change the gene expression with doing these certain things. So
Mhm.
the only genes we're testing, and it's everything from thyroid and from digestion and mental and cognitive function. And we go through 12 different areas and categories and how the body's dealing with certain vitamins and minerals. But they've only chosen the genes that really show the difference when we are changing our lifestyle
Mhm.
and what we're eating. So, and I want to explain first that what happens is we get it what we call an allele from mom and an allele from dad, and that makes up the gene. If both of those are working, if both things that we inherited are working, then we don't really have an issue.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll get one from one parent that's not working and the other one is working. So now we've got a gene that's working 40 to 60% of the time or not working 40 to 60% of the time.
Wow.
The next one is when you get an allele from mom and dad and both of them are not working. That
Mm.
is our highest priority to get that fixed because of the trickle down effect. When we get those highest levels that aren't working at all, when we get those in a place where they're going to affect others that are
Yeah.
half working.
So how do you
So
know if they're not working?
the gene test tells it.
The gene test tells it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The DNA test is going to tell it. So we can tell it's going to be in one of three categories. Every of the 92 genes we test, it's going to either be it's working just fine, it's only half working, and it's not working at all. So I'm going to know exactly where we need to focus our energy and our time and commitment on what's not working.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Is this a blood test or saliva?
No, no, it's actually a cheek swab. We take the
So,
inner side of the cheek cells,
okay.
both sides.
In
Yeah.
Interesting. That's so cool. And this is something that someone can do from home and then ship the kit in. Is that
Yep.
how that works?
Yep. I ship them all the time, and the person easy. It's easy peasy, and they can do it at home. You want to do it when you first get up before you have food, and then you can just follow the little instructions and send it off.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm just thinking about like people that are, they have hereditary things that comes down from their parents and their grandparents with heart disease and cholesterol issues and, diabetes, all of those things. And we all know that that stuff can be managed or reversible or avoided as well. So my question is, are you seeing those things where, people say, well, I'm just destined to have A, B, and C because my parents and my grandparents did, even with thyroid and stuff like that? What do you see in those arenas?
It's really fun to do a family because you can
Ah,
kind of see what the 3 or 4 kids got if the parents passed it on. So when I get the parents done and then we do the children, it's really fun because it's got, oh, they got this or oh, they got that. But it doesn't really, it could skip generations. Again, there is no, you're absolutely going to get this. We may have inherited the
mhm.
propensity for something, but it all goes back to the food intake and how pure that is,
Yeah.
and our lifestyle, if we're living sedentary or we're being active, and then also mindset and our heart and soul. It really has a lot to do with all of it. So when I get someone that really is got the propensity for something like Alzheimer's or celiac disease or something else, we really just work on exactly this test tells us what foods to be eating, what supplements to be taking, and what exercise is going to benefit you most with your entire genotype.
Wow.
So it's not just information. That's the important thing here. It's one more piece of information, but it's got instructions of
Mhm.
saying, here's what you need to make sure the
Yes.
condition doesn't manifest.
That's incredible. So now I'm curious, like you've been doing this for quite some time. So I'm curious, what's the most transformative thing that you've seen with a client? So I'm curious what that would be for you.
Well, I just have a funny story. I'm not sure if it's transformative, but a funny story is I had, because I'm really into nutrition and
Mhm.
all of the things that could develop. So, but it also has an exercise and athletic part
Mhm.
to this.
Yeah.
Not knowing him, I got his test, sent it in, got the results, put together the summaries, which I do. I then put together two different summaries because it's a massive amount of information. It would make anybody just head spin. So I put together two summaries, and we're always focusing on the high level stuff.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm thinking I'm going to come in and tell him all these things. And he looks at the athletic part of it and says, and it says on there that he's got the potential to be an Olympian. He goes nuts. He went, "Oh my gosh," because he's really buff and he's working out and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is like," that was the most important thing to him. And I would have never guessed that in a million years.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What did
So,
he do then? Did he apply that treatment and he went, you know,
well, he walked into the gym with a lot more like, yeah, I got this kind of stuff. It was just interesting to see what's important to people. Honestly, when we're talking about transformations, and I really see, whether it's we do the DNA test or not, what I see is when people start changing the three things we're talking about, the very simple things, like when they switch from McDonald's every day or, packaged foods, and they switch, that's when I see people just become new beings because they've finally given their body the information that it needs.
and something that I want to emphasize here is that you can do all the testing in the world, but if you don't change those things, it doesn't matter. And so, what I like to teach my clients is like, listen, I run blood work for my clients and we do pretty in depth testing because it gives us data and information and it makes, such a big difference. But we can start that journey of diet, the nutrition, what we're bringing in. Like, we're not dieting. I teach them how to fuel and nourish their body to make them feel good. Even just those first couple of weeks before we have their blood results back, they already make massive changes and see the differences just by changing what they're eating and making sure they're giving them the right thing. So I always emphasize this. It doesn't matter where you are at in your health journey. I don't care what it is you're going through, what it is that ailments that you have. The foundation is always going to be, what is your nutrition like? What is your exercise like? What is your sleep like? What is your stress? How's your stress managed? The water, what kind of water and how much water are you drinking? That is your foundation. And that is why even if you don't do testing right away, if you start working on those things, oh my gosh, you're going to move mountains just by doing that.
Oh my gosh, you're singing to the choir here. That's the whole thing, is that more information isn't necessarily the answer,
Mm-mm.
because we know that information without action isn't going to mean much. If you're not set that you are, just like you said before, that you have decided you are going to change. And I'm not going to go in, there's a line in the sand here. I'm not going any further with this. I'm not going to stay. I'm going to work off this medication. I'm going to get healthier. The thing is that when people get the information from something, they want to name it. They want
Yeah.
to name what's wrong.
Mhm.
And you know that there's an old saying, you name it, you claim it. I really try to say, you know what? I don't care what we call it. It's an imbalance. It's a dysfunction that we're going to fix. And so that's the other thing about testing that I really often tell people. This isn't going to do us any good if we're not going to take action. And I don't want you saying, "Oh my gosh, now I know I've got it." And I do have people that say, "Oh no, I don't want to take it. I don't want to know."
That's so big. I believe that so much because it shouldn't become your identity. So, I know there are groups of people that kind of like come together, they hang out in Facebook groups and they all have, whatever illness attached to whatever it is, and that becomes their identity. And when that becomes your identity, you can't heal. You absolutely
That's
cannot heal. So what I like to teach my clients is say, hey, it's looking like there may be some anemia going on. Your thyroid is not happy right now. So we use that kind of language versus like, oh, you have anemia. Oh, you have hypo. Like I'm very careful with those things because a lot of times when we're doing testing, especially we have to remember like in the typical medical field, when they're testing, they are looking for the diagnosis. And so
right.
really, it's not the people's fault in general because they've been taught like, hey, look for what is wrong and look what you can tag it with and what your symptoms are labeled with. And when we can get away from that, I've had the label of hypothyroidism before. I've had the label of Hashimoto's, and it wasn't until I decided, hey, those may still be some underlying things that are going on, but I'm not going to claim that label. It's not going to hang over my head. I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I can't do this because I have A, B, and C." Like I just don't do that. Do we negate the fact that there are some of these things going on? And no. Like
No,
there's still like stuff going on and we got to figure out like what that is. But I'm so glad that you're saying that and that you're teaching that because testing is part of it, but it is not all of it.
absolutely, 100%. I agree. And that's where we work on the mindset as well. And it's funny because when I have a client and so I have a 3-month and a 6-month program, and we meet every week and they have assignments and I'm available throughout the week. The thing is when we get back together, I always ask them, and it's so funny with somebody we've got our first week under our belt. The first thing I ask them is what went right? And they go, oh, what went right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're ready to say, here's where I was struggling. This is where I didn't do well. And it's like changing the mindset is to let's look at what worked.
Mhm. Yep. Because it's very, very easy to get hooked on focusing on what we didn't do well. But when we focus on what we feel like we didn't do well, like we can't even think about the things that went right and that went well and that we did well. And so that's amazing. And I like to do that too, is like asking, what went well last week? What was that? And then we talk about what the challenges were. But
Sure.
I like to say, what were your challenges? Because life happens and there are challenges that happen. But before we do that, let's talk about what went well and focus on the wins. And I think that that's so huge for everybody.
And it is. And like I said, I really feel like what you're saying is that we have a tendency, our brains have a tendency to look at the negative of what I didn't do. And even when I have a whole list of things and I have order and structure to do my things, I want to be able to close my books for the day and be happy with what I got done versus saying, okay, well, I didn't get this and this and this. It's, our brain just wants to do that. So it's really a retraining.
Oh my gosh, it is. I want to share this because I learned this from a guy that I was in his mastermind, and I'm teaching this to my clients. But he taught this thing where it's called when it's done, it's done. For anybody that's listening, please pay attention to this because this was really helpful for my clients that are overdoers and overachievers. They just feel like they're always busy. And something that I share is we choose to be busy. You can choose how busy you actually make yourself because at the end of the day, what you don't get done today, there's tomorrow and then there's tomorrow. Sure, there's deadlines and stuff, but if you're someone that is always busy and you just feel like you can't catch a break, well, that's actually a choice that we make to make ourselves that busy. And so what he taught and what I love teaching now with my clients is first we say when it's done, it's done. And so then the second step is the day before, night before you go to bed, you write down your to-do list for the next day. And you go through that, you write down that list and you say, okay, these are the things that I absolutely need to do tomorrow. And that's your checklist. And you don't negate from that checklist. And you just say, okay, and this could be if you're a stay at home mom, whatever it is, you write down that checklist. The next day, you stick with that checklist. And this is powerful for someone that has ADD or ADHD tendencies where it's like scattered brain everywhere. And all you do is you go through that checklist and you complete it. And then when you're done with that checklist, you say when it's done, it's done. Now you're done. You wipe your hands and you go, okay, I got my checklist done. The rest gets to tomorrow. And then that night, you make another checklist for the following day. And that was really, really helpful for a lot of my clients that just felt like they could never catch a break. And they realized that they don't have to do everything in one day. And then some of the overachievers would always put too much on their list. So their next step was like, put less on the list. You don't have to do everything in one day. All right, friends, let's talk about something that's a little uncomfortable, but super important. Parasites. Yup, those unwanted guests in our bodies that can mess with our energy, digestion, and throw off our internal system. Now, most of us don't think about doing a parasite cleanse, but the truth is, these pesky little things are more common than we'd like to think, and they can lead to all kinds of symptoms that many people just live with, thinking they're normal. Now, it's not a matter of not having parasites at all. Rather, it's about how many do you have and what havoc are they creating internally. That's why I'm excited to share the Roger Hood Super Parasite Kit with you. It's a comprehensive, all-natural kit that helps rid your body of parasites gently and effectively. I like to say this is white pant approved. It's easy to use, and it's a great way to reset and support your health from the inside out. Because let's be real, detoxing isn't just a trend. It's a way to help our bodies function better. The reason I love the Super Parasite Kit for myself and my clients so much is it doesn't just touch on parasites. This kit includes a heavy metal flush, a candida detox, a binder which is very much needed, and a red artist tincture designed to support your gut and your organs as you are detoxing. So if you've been feeling sluggish, bloated, or just not quite like yourself, it might be time to give parasite detoxing a try. Grab the Roger Hood Super Parasite Kit and start taking charge of your health and see what a difference it makes when you clear out what shouldn't be there in the first place. Go to www.rogershood.com/REF/8. This link will automatically apply a 10% off discount code for you. If that doesn't work, you can also apply Lizzie10. Again, that is www.rogershood.com/REF/8. You can also find this link in the show notes.
It's a powerful lesson, Lizzie. That's powerful because you're speaking to one who has gotten her self-worth through busyness. You know, I mean, we were raised in a family business and we were up at the crack of dawn and we were working in the family business. And so that to me, you know, it has come through my life and I've really, really, and I still have to work on it, is not being so busy that I'm not doing anything well. Yes.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I wanted to ask you, like, because I feel like it really could be anybody. But let's say someone's like, oh, I would like to do some DNA testing. Who's that person that would be like a perfect candidate where you're like, yeah, I think it would be a good step for you to do some DNA testing?
Well, I think you're right. It's really beneficial for everyone, honestly. If they're willing to look at it and really not go in with a fear mindset at all, because to me, the information is powerful because I'm going to do something about it. So if they have that whole thought process, I think it's going to be really beneficial for everyone. And in particular, when I have a client who has struggled with something for a long, long time, and they just say, I don't know why, I've done this, I've done that. And they seem like they're pretty, you know, they've tried different therapies and modalities and nothing's working. Then that person might really benefit. We can take a look at that gene makeup and see what's going on. If they've struggled and struggled with something and they've just never been able to find the answer. And I hate to say this, because if the answer was found and it's really changing your lifestyle with food and exercise and they just don't want to do that, well,
Yeah. That goes back to it's literally still up to you.
well, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So, but it gives me, as a practitioner, it gives me a look into a deeper cellular level. And we can say, okay, right here's, where it's missing the boat here. And we can change that by this, this, and this. And like I said, the beautiful part about this particular test is it isn't just about information. It gives you the foods that are going to be, and they don't do that for just one gene. This test does aggregating and weighting of all the genes that they've looked at and said, your genotype is going to do best with this. And so it actually comes out with a grocery list, your DNA grocery list of what you need to be having in your life on a regular basis. And so when I go over that, and it may say, okay, you need tuna, liver, shiitake mushrooms. And I have a client that says, well, I'm not going to eat any of that. And I said, okay, then I know how to supplement you. We're going to go into a methylated B, where we got an activated B vitamin, so that you are getting what you need if you're not going to eat those things. So it's a perfect, so it also gives me the vitamin that the body's calling for to support. So it's the vitamins and minerals, and there are all kinds of, there's Ayurvedic suggestions, there's all kinds of different things, but exercise, it's going to say your genotype, looking at all this together, you need at least 30 minutes of cardio 5 days a week.
Wow.
So it's very specific.
So if someone does the gene testing, and let's just say, does it pick up if they are going into potential adrenal burnout or thyroid issues going on, hormone imbalances? Does it detect those types of things?
No, we're going to see at the cellular level if their gene isn't working in the thyroid. So they're in the thyroid that's got several genes that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And if they happen to have 3 out of the 7 genes that we're looking at in the thyroid area, those aren't working at all, and then they have some that are half working, that is going to be a high priority. We need to really focus on that. And they might or might not have symptoms. They might or might not, depending on their lifestyle and if they're fairly healthy. But at this point, it points me to the highest priority. So I look at each category, if it's digestion or hormones or mental and cognitive function, that kind of thing.
So I'm just thinking about this. If someone, let's just say the gene type says, hey, you would do best with 30 minutes of cardio every day. But what if this person is into the early stages of adrenal burnout and they need something a little bit less taxing on the adrenal system? So that would be my only thing is it pointing towards that, or is it basically just going off of the gene type and saying, this is what would be best for your gene type?
The second one is actually what you're saying there is true. They are taking it as the person, this is what they need. Our job as practitioners actually comes in with that very thing, is when I'm seeing them already absolutely low energy. It's not okay, crack the whip. You need 30 minutes of cardio. If you can just start even just walking, and we may need to even we need to start a mad dash of detoxing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's it. So maybe we need to do some self-care, and you need to start getting whatever, Epsom salt baths or hyperbaric oxygen or whatever those things are to help the body. But that's where we come in, where we're looking at the whole person.
Okay, that's awesome, because that would be the main thing. Like, I could see for someone that maybe doesn't have other backgrounds of looking at these other things, is like that could be dangerous, because if it's only looking at the gene type but not considering what is going on at the moment, that I could see that being an issue, but with the right practitioner and the person that understands how to look at all that stuff, absolutely. No, I love that.
Exactly. Well, and that's why I don't ever suggest to anyone, there's just DNA tests out there everywhere. And
Yeah,
taking that isn't, unless you have someone walking with you in your journey and they're really explaining what that means, it could be a problem.
does your test show the MTHFR mutations?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Love that.
The
So,
methylation genes
yeah.
is one area.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Denise, where can people find you? Like, if they want to learn more about what you do and have to offer, where can they find you?
They can find me on totalwellnessacademy.com.
Awesome.
And there is a whole page on there about up at the top. They can click on the link for DNA, and it goes into a lot more detail, about what it is, like epigenetics versus the gene makeup and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of information on there. So, yes, and I love the one-on-one coaching because of what we were just talking about. People, it's really important that when people have decided they really want to get better and healthier, than to walk with someone for accountability and support and encouragement is all so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Denise, guys. Just want to encourage you, like, if you are someone that's like, hey, I'm really interested in DNA testing, go to her website, research it, go in there, get educated on it, and then, maybe do a test with her because it could be beneficial in you finding out more information on, hey, what's going on in your genes and what could maybe even fast track what you're already doing if that's something that you're interested in. Denise, thank you so much for coming on here. This was so fun, such a pleasure, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. Appreciate it.
Welcome.